This is a story that blew up over the weekend. I'm sure most of you guys have been following this. We thought, it's the weekend. What could happen? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it was a big weekend for news. Here's an article in the Tribune. Are Latter-day Saints Christian? Oh, always a big question we discuss here on the newscast. The U.S. Defense Department doesn't appear to think so. And I'll just kind of briefly go over what happened. And we have a big update as of the last couple hours. If you haven't heard this, we'll get to that. The Department of Defense recently reduced its list of recognized religious affiliation codes from more than 200 categories down to just 31. In the new system, many Christian denominations are grouped under a broad Christian umbrella with subcategories such as Baptist, Methodist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Orthodox, Pentecostal, and others. And I will add to that Jehovah's Witness and Seventh-day Adventists. And what it means, we'll show you the list in a minute. It says Christian dash Jehovah's Witness, Christian dash Seventh-day Adventists, right? And you go down that list.
Witnesses made the cut?
Yeah, this is what's so unusual. This is what's so strange. Exactly. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I will say listed in this list, has no hyphen, right? No hyphen at all. So I don't know. Strangites, nobody can keep track anymore, is not included in these Christian categories under this umbrella. It does not say Christian dash the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It simply says the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Instead, it appears as its own separate faith designation alongside groups such as Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Sikhism, Buddhism, and the Baha'i faith. So this, you can imagine, caused an incredible stir, especially when people noticed that other burned over district religions like Seventh-day Adventists and Jehovah's Witnesses did make that cut and got the Christian umbrella designation. I actually Googled Christian umbrella and found out that you can buy that. Maybe for Christmas, I'll get that for you guys. That is an actual Christian umbrella. Who knows? So, all right. The article goes on. For many Latter-day Saints, the classification is likely to feel ironic because the church leaders have spent decades emphasizing the faith's Christian identity and retiring the term Mormon in favor of the church's full name and stressing its focus on Jesus Christ. And we talk about this almost weekly, don't we? Everything they're doing to desperately appear to be mainstream Christian, from the cross on Temple Square to embracing the cross, wearing the cross, Easter, Good Friday, Holy Week, Palm Sunday, singing the Christian hymns like This Little Light of Mine. They're trying really hard to appear mainstream Christian. And here the Defense Department says, no, not so much. You don't get that wonderful umbrella. Yet the Defense Department's new structure places the faith outside of the Christian grouping, highlighting the continuing disagreement over how Mormonism fits into the broader Christian world. Because, hate to break it to everybody, but there are many mainstream Christians who do not feel that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a Christian denomination. And now look, they've got some proof backed up by the Defense Department. The change has reignited the long-running debate over whether Latter-day Saints are viewed as Christians by other religious institutions. Latter-day Saints affirm belief in Jesus Christ as Savior, place his name in the center of the church's identity, while many evangelical and traditional Christian groups have historically argued that LDS teachings about God, Jesus, Scripture, continuing revelation places the faith outside the boundaries of historic Christianity. And we talk about this a lot on the newscast. By placing the church in a separate category rather than under the new Christian umbrella, the Pentagon's classification appears to reflect that distinction. Why did this happen? Right? Everyone's saying, how did this happen? What does it mean? The defense official said that the reduction was intended to simplify record keeping and help military chaplains understand the religious makeup of their units. Kind of consolidation is what it sounds like, and more easily not make judgments about the validity of any faith. Heaven forbid the government should do that. Service members can still identify as Latter-day Saints, and the church does remain one of the 31 recognized religions of affiliations on the revised list. What did either of you think about this when you first heard it over the weekend?
I can tell you what I think now.
Yeah. Okay. Now or over the weekend?
Okay. What I think now is this. Okay. As a general principle, if you have a choice between malicious intent and simple incompetence, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be simple incompetence. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on here, but it's probably, I mean, this is your government at work. The tax dollars at work, okay? They probably just screwed it up. I doubt there was any ill intent. And although I can't vouch for this comment that was made, or who made it. They represented themselves as being a veteran and saying that this is not a big deal. It's just, how they're going to organize things in order to spread their resources. I don't know how that works. I don't know if that's correct. If this were a Christian, and by that I'm going to say a sort of fundamentalist evangelical, really dyed-in-the-wool Christian who's in charge of making this up, because obviously people make this up. And some of them might be Christian, and they might think, okay, well, I really hate those Mormons. They're not Christian, so I'm not going to include them on the list. It's just I can't imagine that would happen and not have the J-dubs there too.
And that's what's so unusual. Seventh-day Adventists and JWs are there. I almost feel like it could have been something with the database, like it can only have 200 characters, right? And because of the freaking long name of the church, you can't put Christian in front of it. It could be something that simple. What do you think, Bill?
Look at that. Yeah, if you put Christian there and started it way over,
somebody counted
like
up.
Seventh-day Adventists,
I
think
think
that you're onto something.
What do you think, Bill?
I'll just say, as a church that requires everybody to say the full name of the church, and as you point out, it's the longest one on the list, you can easily see that. You've got Jesus Christ in the name.
Yep.
At the end of the day, again, I know that the evangelicals and other Christian denominations go, well, Mormons aren't real Christians. Every one of those groups debates in some way something about the original Christian theology or what role Jesus Christ play. You've got him in the name. Who cares? But it didn't die here, though, did it, Rebecca?
No, the story goes on. And I will say,
Rebecca, I want to hear the rest of the story. But now that you've got me looking at it, they already give 2 lines on this little brief card that's supposed to synopsize the information to the Mormon church. Every single other church on there gets 1 line and only takes up 1 line.
Yeah.
It's the Mormons who have to take up 2 lines, and then it's threatening to go to 3, and now they're going to bitch about it.
That's what I say. If they had stuck with Mormon, they could have been Christian Mormon. I guarantee it would be under there like that. So, and again, I look at Faithful social media, and there was a lot of persecution complex. There were some that said, oh, it could be something we don't understand, but there were a lot of, yep, they've never liked us, that kind of a thing. So, of course, our state senators in Utah jumped right on that. Right? They weren't concerned about other denominations that had been left off of the list, right? 170 of them. So maybe some of their people here in Utah in those denominations, but attack the LDS church or look like something's wonky with that, they're going to jump in right away, guns blazing. Absolutely. Who do they work for? I guess I'll just maybe mention that on the side. So this article in the Deseret News, Senators Lee and Curtis question the new Pentagon designation for Latter-day Saints. Again, this is all over the weekend happening, right? They went to work on not a weekday, and they went in, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but Utah Senator Mike Lee and John Curtis criticized the Pentagon's new religious affiliation system after it categorized the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints separately from groups labeled Christian. They both argued Latter-day Saints are Christian. They are, because we say they are, and they questioned why the church excluded them. They made some tweets. You guys can pause on this. Here's the list. How come Latter-day Saints, they really made an issue publicly, and I am guessing behind the scenes, they also made an issue. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I do want to point out my co-host Landon, retired military, brought this up. There's a special designation for people who pass away in the military and want to have a marker in Arlington. And in 1980, the church said, this is what we want. We want a Moroni. So they're already kind of separating themselves within the military. We want this special designation. Other religions do this too. Look at this. Pretty amazing. All these different ones you can have on your headstone. But they certainly said, we don't want a Christian cross, right? We want our own separate Moroni. We want to show that we're Latter-day Saints. Another thing that sets them apart, they do have chaplains in the military that are Latter-day Saints, but those chaplains cannot conduct services like for other groups. Or the LDS can't have a service. Sorry, I said it backwards. The LDS members there can't have a service conducted by other Christian chaplains. They have to have somebody come in, a branch president. It has to be a priesthood holder. So there are things in the military that necessarily set apart the Latter-day Saints from other grouped together Christians. A Baptist chaplain could go and run a service for a Lutheran, a Methodist, but the LDS members there have to have somebody separate to come in. So, maybe they're just sort of seen as wanting to be peculiar and different. That's kind of how I looked at it. Maybe, no offense was meant. It was something like that. Whatever happened behind the scenes just a few hours ago, breaking news, the problem is solved. After criticism from Utah lawmakers and others, the Pentagon revised its religious affiliation classification systems to identify the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as part of the Christian tradition. In other words, nobody is Christian now. Nobody gets that little designation. This just goes into how the senators kind of said things publicly. And again, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. It could have been something, but here's the new list. Nobody has Christian in front of their names. Nobody. Everybody's just sort of a Christian denomination. And then it says Christian non-denominational. You can freeze on that and look at it, but it's solved. No harm, no foul. We are Christian yet again, and we have our designation. So any final thoughts on this story? I figured that they might fix it at the last minute, and they did. So 2 breaking things. A video's pulled, and Mormons are Christian again. It's a big day.
It does settle the question about whether Mormons are Christian. For a brief time, they were not, but now apparently they are. And we know it because the government says so.
That's it.
Fixed. There it is.
That's all.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rebecca, for that.